What's it like on the outside?
Feels kind of normal, you know, like I haven't skipped a beat.
When you come home from prison and doing a lot of time, it's so hard to adapt.
I'm staying with my mom right now and my brother.
I'm bullied a lot.
Really?
I'm a pacifist, so I didn't fight back.
I thought for sure when Jill first called me.
Who's Jill?
Jill Stein. She's from the Green Party.
You're
Totally
running
serious.
for Vice President of the United States.
I'm running for Vice President of the United States of America.
Democracy starts today.
You know, it's kind of sad. I got a lot of memories, a lot of stuff that this neighborhood reminds me of.
I had this girl. She had a kid with some other dude when I was away.
You know how hard it is for him to try to find work out here with his record now.
I'm in pain and I'm sad, and it's because of choices that you made.
I was a teenage mother. My life has been hard. The therapist said to me, the best thing that you can do is to tell Mark's father that he can't see him. And Mark's dad never came back.
Don't waste my time. May you be free of fear. May you be at peace. May you be happy. I want you to smile at yourself. And I want you to tell yourself, I love you.
It's good to know that at least a few people have my best intentions at heart.
Please don't be stupid.
I won't. I'm not.
Hello. How you doing, man? What a beautiful trailer, man. I mean, this movie hits close to home, I'm sure, literally. I mean, tell me what it's like to watch it. Have you watched the film a few times now?
I've watched it a bunch, a whole lot now. It's really interesting, you know, when you make a film that's based in reality, it's like the movie's still happening. You know, there's elements in the film that are still playing out. And so each time that I watch it, I get to reflect and think about my life and things that are currently happening from a new angle, you know? And then watching it with an audience and talking about it has been really emotional and very special, yeah.
You talk about reality cinema. I mean, what was it like bringing your family into this process? Were they pretty open to it, or did it take a few conversations?
You know, it took a couple conversations with my mom.
She's the star of the movie, by the way. Nothing against you, man, but...
Yeah, she definitely, you know, she jokes about it. If she were to have read the script beforehand, she would have completely rewritten certain aspects for her. You know, and I had to make it very clear to her, look, we're exposing ourselves. Real pain, real trauma. You know, I very clearly was not interested in making any type of vanity piece to say, here's the best mom in the world, and we're, you know, it's to really explore these flawed, broken elements of our life. But yeah, we look at it as a big gift, you know. It's really cool that my family was willing to make this piece of art about our lives.
The same with your brother?
Yeah, my brother is such an amazing guy, a human being. You know, he really does have Asperger's, and you know, when we made the film, he was 13 years old, and so he was really in the prime time of like pre-adolescence, and for him to be willing to put a portrait of real adolescence with a disability on screen was so brave of him. And it's been really beautiful watching how youth in particular really connect with him, and the esteem that he's getting from it is really powerful.
I mean, you've carried this story around for a while. I mean, it's your life. I mean, what was the inspiration point for turning it into a film, and when did you approach them?
The inspiration, it's a couple things, you know. I've been acting for a while now, and when I started to write and direct, it was kind of reactionary to being a little bit uninspired with the traditional way of making things. And so I've always been obsessed with realism and, you know, authenticity in films. And I like to say with my second film that I made a movie called The End of Love with my son Isaac when he was 2. And that's where I found my voice as a filmmaker and kind of this thing I like to call reality cinema. And so, you know, I knew I wanted to make a film about a family, and I was, you know, really happy that I could turn it inward again. And you know, my mom has had such a really colorful upbringing in life, and I knew that we would be, it was like a gold mine, you know, a hotbed of like really interesting stuff to explore. And so, yeah, that's where it started.
I mean, it's a completely unique film, man. I mean, what in your story do you think wasn't being told in Hollywood? I mean, it feels like there's a lot of elements that actually haven't been made, and now like the based on a true story genre is the most popular one out there, but you actually had the true story to put out there. And what did you want to say?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think that the Hollywood version of this would be, I guess the genre, they would call it as like quote unquote like an urban film, right? And so they would...
Philadelphia, downtown, that sort of deal.
Yeah, and often in the Hollywood version of these type of films, they take elements and they twist it. And they get these like glossy, stereotypical kind of versions of it that are, in a weird way, like exploitation. And they're pushing something in a weird way, you know? And with this, you know, this is going into a community that I grew up in called the Badlands in Philadelphia. And it's not contrived. The diversity is not contrived. It's not like, well, we need to make a film that's diverse. It's just, that was my life. And this is the way it looks like. And these people are actually really struggling with addiction and poverty. And it's that difference, you know. I think Hollywood is, you know, this film would be contrived. You know, you could see, okay, well, we need to make it diverse. We need to make it feel gritty. And then that just ends up feeling really kind of shallow. There's no real soul to it.
Are there any filmmakers that you sort of pulled inspiration from when you were shooting it?
Well, you know, I've been inspired so much throughout my career, man. You know, I've been so fortunate to have worked with some really incredible directors early on. Jim Jarmusch is a huge influence. Was lucky to be in a film of his. He produced my first film that I directed. And I've also just been really influenced by like different movements throughout filmmaking. You know, like the Dogma film movement with Lars von Trier and Winterberg and those guys, and Harmony, and those guys, they made an impression on me. You know, when I was like a teenager coming up, you know, here in New York, it was very influential.
I mean, you mentioned like you've been acting for a while now. You've hit your share of red carpets. You know, you have your wife Teresa Palmer.
Yeah.
And I think people have this probably an idea of you. You know, they see you in the suits, they see you all glossied up, and they have no idea. Are people surprised when they see the film? You know, homelessness, the struggles that your family had. I mean, what was the most revealing thing that you feel you had to share?
Yeah, I think that people have been very surprised. People who know me within the industry maybe know a little bit about my story. We did a screening at the Soho House in Los Angeles, which is, you know, like a fancy...
For people who don't know, it's
like,
very exclusive. Yeah.
It's like LA, very LA.
Members only.
Members only. And you know, it was my like industry screening. But it was really beautiful because I knew, you know, I'm like, everyone that I invited to come to that, I have love and admiration for. And it was really cool to be able to show them this, you know, and reveal a side of myself. Because really, man, you know, I make movies so people can have an emotional reaction, reflect on your own life, and relate, and then feel more connected to the world, man. I mean, that's really what I try to do. And so to be able to do that with people who, you know, maybe are really successful or just regular old people, doesn't matter. Like, I I just want to feel more connected to the world.
Do you feel like a special need to tell a story like this? Because, right now in New York City, Los Angeles, homelessness it's a rampant problem. It's only getting worse. I mean, do you feel like people need to build awareness to this, try to understand people on a different level?
100%. It's always an intention of mine. With whatever I'm doing, in some way, I feel like as an artist, there's a responsibility to kind of reflect the times and what's going on. And that's not to say you can't make a crazy genre picture and, be in a wild action film and have some fun, because I like that too. But when it's me and when I'm directing, and it's always there, man. And I think, it's a wild time that we're living in right now, and I grew up with a radical mom, going to demonstrations and marches, and that was really powerful. But for me, I've learned along the way that arts and culture is really how you can, reach the mind and the soul and the heart of people, and I think that the film really succeeds in being a movie about a family, but that is universal, and I think the politics of it are subversive, and you find it in your own way, as opposed to the overt kind of messaging of a demonstration. And so I like to have my agenda come across and my beliefs within my art, and I think it's a little bit more powerful in a way when you do it like that.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned your radical mom, and I think you're talking back there. She just drops things like I'm running for vice president on you out of the blue. Are you living your life, and just when you were living that part of your life, did you make mental notes of those sort of things? Or when you started to make the film, were there things that just popped up in your head this has to be in the movie, I can't cut that needs to stay?
Totally. I was just laughing backstage because that moment with my mom, I mean, that's literally how she dropped the news that she was running for vice president on me. And I think it's because my mother has, she's been through a lot in her life, so big things are really nonchalant. And little things are a really big deal for her, which is, it's a little reverse. The film culminates with me seeing my father, and that, what you see in the movie is me actually seeing my father for the second time since I was 5 years old, play out in one take. And
how'd you feel going into shooting that moment?
It's really hard to articulate, man. It was just, I was a little afraid. I was grateful. It was a little just kind of on the edge of my seat, what's gonna happen? How's this gonna work? Is this gonna work? And then also really forgiving my dad at the same time is a really powerful thing to be doing, and just exhilarating at the same time when you're photographing it. And a little bit of it was a little outer body experience, because the whole time I'm also directing and I'm thinking, okay, do we have what we need? But then I'm also, sitting across from my biological father, the man that made me, who left me when I was 5. So those emotions and the exchange between us is very real, and painful.
And did you find maybe things that you were actually feeling that you didn't realize when you watched it back on the screen? Were you seeing sort of your facial tics or your emotional reactions and body language? That it's got to be fascinating to live on both sides of that camera,
Totally. It wasn't until we got back to, because we shot that in Minneapolis where my father lives. It wasn't until me and my crew got back to the hotel that we were staying in, and we plugged in the drive and we watched it back on the screen, and I was like, oh my God, that looks really hard, And it was really
I feel bad for that guy.
I feel really bad for that guy, both of them, which is strange because it's like, that's me, you know? And it's really, it's beautiful though, man. You know, it's like really beautiful stuff to process. I've gotten so much from it, and you know, and I have a relationship with my father now, you know, and I didn't have that for over 30 years.
And you know, what are you taking into being a father yourself, and you know, working on a relationship with Teresa, and sort of sharing these things with her as well? Did she know all of this? Did she see the film? What was her reaction to it?
Yeah, I mean, I am so grateful to have such a supportive, amazing wife, and my children are my everything. And she's a producer in the film, and she's also briefly in it at the end.
Saw that, yeah.
And so's Bodhi, and you know, she's my biggest champion and supporter, and vice versa. So yeah, it's really great when you have a teammate and a partner who really sees you, and the admiration and the respect and the love is through the roof, you know, and it just is so encouraging, inspiring to just keep going.
I mean, what out of this performance and the end of love, you know, dealing with those situations and acting with those emotions, what do you bring into your other roles? Do you find that you're maybe a little closer connected to that reality on reality's terms that you're able to bring into other experiences, into other characters?
Yeah, totally. I think for me, early on, because I got kicked out of a performing arts high school, and I came up to New York, and I got an agent.
What did they tell you, and have you gone back there yet?
I'm literally, I'm listed as alumni on the website. I don't even have a diploma.
Nice, well played, school, well
yeah,
played.
no, totally. I'm like, you guys, I was
Shout-outs, no shout-outs today.
No, I mean, I was angry for a minute, but then when I saw that, it just made me laugh. I'm like, okay. So I came up to New York and I started working, and I just was like, I gotta, be real. And, acting for me was very much like, how do I take these lines and make it seem like this is something I would really say? And so I developed my own little wacky system, which really later on in life I realized is just about being present, being right there in the moment, really listening. And that's challenging, for us as human beings. So it's kind of beautiful to have found that that's necessary for me in acting, and how that, element of mindfulness carries over just into my everyday life, which when I'm mindful and when I'm present, life is better for me.
Yeah. On those sets, have you been around any actors that you've pulled little tidbits from, or maybe have given you some advice that informed, the guy that you're trying to be right now?
There's been so many. I feel so lucky. Everyone that I've really worked with has been really incredible. I just saw Ethan Hawke's picture back there, and
Well, he's been here, absolutely.
yeah, and I absolutely adore that man. And that was the first time that I'd worked with an actor director. We did a movie, his first film, called Chelsea Walls. Me and Rosario Dawson played a young couple living in the Chelsea Hotel. And then I did his second film called The Hottest State, which I was essentially playing him in the movie. And
no pressure at all.
No pressure.
Playing Ethan Hawke to Ethan Hawke.
Right, but like it was never framed that way. It was kind of like, obviously, clearly make it your own. But it was, I took so much from that. And I think his experience as an actor, what he brought to the table as a director is just making everyone feel comfortable and respected. And that environment fosters people to be open and really vulnerable. And then you take risks and you try things. And then for me, there's a whole other aspect of filmmaking that exists where everyone is kind of like not really open. And there's almost like this expectation you gotta come and you gotta do it right. And oddly fear-based, and no one's really being open about it. You know, they're not talking about it. And so there's a lot of masking, and people aren't willing to, you know, admit that they actually don't know what they're doing at the time, you know? And I prefer people who don't do that. And it allows you to go deeper and make work that's far more interesting.
Do you have other filmmakers that you're hoping to work with? I think you just came off a set with Gus Van Zandt, right? What was that experience like?
Major.
Just speaking lightly, major. Yeah, exactly. The cast as well. I mean, you had some scenes with some legends.
Yeah, it's Joaquin Phoenix and Jonah Hill. And I mean, I have a major actor crush on Joaquin. I have forever.
Did you know this going in, or did you keep this on the DL?
I tried to tell him, but he shut that down. You know, we were out front, and in between takes, and I was just like, all right, I'm gonna tell him how I really feel.
When am I gonna get the chance? Yeah, exactly.
And he was like, oh no, please don't do that right now. And I was like, oh yeah, no, totally. And it got silent and awkward. And then I proceeded to go in, and you know, it's a scene where we're in a 12-step program, and we're sitting around, and Joaquin is telling his story. And so we're talking like one single 4.5-minute take, and it's my coverage, and I'm literally, you know, 2 minutes in, I'm like, oh my God, I'm being filmed right now. I like had spent the 2 minutes just watching him as like a regular person.
Front row seats, man, absolutely.
And I got so embarrassed within the take, and then tried to start like acting like I was, you know, but I was just his behavior, his mannerism, I was in a trance. Yeah.
Can't wait to see that. You'll just be smiling with your eyes, and I'll be like, I know what's going on there.
I know, you'll know. Yeah.
Do you have any other stories? I mean, obviously, you're liking this reality cinema style. I mean, are there other stories that you're looking to tell, or are you just keeping your eyes open for the next directorial project?
Well, I'm in pre-production on the next one.
There we go.
And it's kind of like, it's my bookend to this reality cinema process, but set in a kind of magical fantasy world. And I'm making it with my son, Bodhi. And we're shooting it in Wales in January, and that's
family vacation.
It's going down right now, and then I'm gonna walk away from this reality cinema thing for a bit and kind of have another thing I'm working on in more of a traditional space. But yeah.
Looking forward to that, man. Nice. Well, we have some questions in the audience, so we're gonna go right there.
Hi. So this is based on your life. How did you know kind of where to start it and where to end it, since your life, you know, started at one point and it's still going on?
Yeah, great question. You know, there's an element of me and my brother reconnects with his father, who's a heroin junkie who's dying. And that becomes a catalyst for me to go see my dad. And so I knew that those two big elements were the major things that I wanted to, you know, beats that I wanted to explore within the film. And so that gave me an indication of how to end the film. Yeah.
Perfect. Nice. Next question.
Hi. As an artist, I think that creating art is kind of intimate because you get to show people like kind of your perspective. So I was wondering, for this project, how did you feel showing people something so intimate? This is your life. So just how did you feel?
I love it. It makes me feel happy. You know, I don't know. I feel like I spent a lot of my early years in life kind of pretending almost like that I was something that I wasn't. I wanted people to like me. I wanted to seem like I was cool. And I didn't really fully knew who I was in a way. And so my work now is revealing so that I can really continue to be comfortable with who I am as a person. And that feels great. It's like relaxing, and it keeps me happy.
Okay, one more question.
Hi, I want wanted to know what advice you would give young filmmakers who are trying to break into this industry and even maybe particularly this kind of genre.
My total cliche response that I think everyone says nowadays is just go do it. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for anyone to say, okay, it's time. Just go do it. I mean, you can literally make a movie on your phone now, and we all have phones. So there's really no excuse. The only thing that could potentially be stopping you from making a film is yourself at this point. And if you have a story to tell, just tell that story. And you'll have an audience, and you'll find an audience, because I want to watch movies like that.
Absolutely. Go do it, and go watch Flesh and Blood, guys. It's out there, and you're doing some screenings, right? You're hosting some screenings all around. They can check the website.
Yeah, check the website. We're in Brooklyn all weekend at Videology in Williamsburg.
Amazing, absolutely. And then you have an initiative tied to it right on the website that people can go donate to as far as the
Yeah,
cost?
you can. Yep, you can. There's a Take Action tab, and you can learn a little bit more about my mom's Poor People's Economic Human Rights Campaign.
I love it. Another round of applause for Mark Webber,
Thank
guys.
you, guys.
Thanks so much for
Thanks
being
so
here, man.
much.